Hello everybody, this is JD. I'm going to talk a little bit about our Constitution tonight, but a little different. I'm not going to exactly quote the Constitution. I'm not going to exactly quote words out of the Constitution. I'm going to talk a little bit about theory of the Constitution. I'm going to talk a little bit about why and how come. And it all comes from the Bill of Rights. Our forefathers, when they wrote the Constitution, came up with a body of government. Now, if you're a Federalist, you love the first part of the Constitution. You think it's great. It's wonderful. I mean, wow. But then, if you're not a Federalist, you're not going to like the Bill of Rights because it's almost the opposite. Now, basically, what I'm going to first say is that there is stories or legends that when Benjamin Franklin left the Constitutional Convention, he was asked by some lady, I don't know if it was a lady, if it was a man, or even if Benjamin Franklin actually said this, but asked, what type of government did we give you? And his answer was, a republic, if you can keep it. Where do they actually give us the republic? In the Bill of Rights, more than anywhere else, if we can actually keep it. Now, the reason I'm going to talk about it is because the Bill of Rights is something that's very, very important, the first 10 amendments. And it's not very, very important because of anything more than what it actually does. When our forefathers wrote the main part of the Constitution, they had a problem with it. They looked at the Constitution and it scared them. They've seen the dangers from the Constitution, the first part of the Constitution, setting up the executive branch, setting up the legislative branch, and setting up the Supreme Court, the judicial branch. But there was nothing to check them, and nothing to really give guidelines on what to do. Well, the purpose of the government, our government, was to do something that no other government did before. And that was to ensure and give its citizens the responsibility of the government and the privileges of the ruling class. That's right, the privileges of the ruling class. That was something unheard of at that time and to this day. The Constitution gives us the responsibility of the government, each and every citizen, and we have the privileges of the ruling class. Where? In the Bill of Rights. And how does it do it? First, the first 10 amendments from everywhere, from the beginning of right of religion, freedom of speech, and church and state shall be separate, right down to the 10th Amendment, where anything not covered by the Constitution was left up to the individual states, is giving guidelines for our government to follow. These are very stringent, very strict guidelines. These are the boundaries that you are to be locked into. That's the first thing our Bill of Rights does. It is the guidelines for Congress on every law that they may pass to see to it that it does not inhibit the privileges and rights of the ruling class, or, in our case, the American citizen. Also, secondly, it sets precedents on what an amendment to the Constitution shall be. 1, it shall protect the citizen and his rights and privileges. 2, it will add to and enhance the definition of anything that needs to be explained by the Constitution. And 3, it shall not take away from the main body of the Constitution. Restrictions that apply in the main body of the Constitution shall not be taken away. And you might say, well, why What for? Well, those precedents are very important. One, protect the individual's rights and privileges. Two, add to further explanation. Two. And three, not take away the restrictions that the Constitution places upon the government. Those three items and the Bill of Rights should be what the Supreme Court uses to judge whether or not something is constitutional or not. For example, the amendment on the income tax. That takes away from the restriction of the main body of the Constitution by giving the government the right to freely tax us directly, which the Constitution says they shall not. It doesn't say would not or could not, it says shall not. And all of the first 10 amendments, none of them take away any of the restrictions set forth by the government on the Constitution. All of the first 10 amendments add and enhance the explanation of the government towards its citizens. And all of the first 10 amendments guarantee and ensure the individual rights of the quote-unquote ruling class, which is the American citizen. We are the ruling class. We are the government. We are the people. And that is why the Bill of Rights is so important. Because our forefathers saw in the main body of the Constitution something very, very scary. Federalization. They saw it. And the Bill of Rights is the big blocking stone to that. We do not have a federal government. We have a republic voted for representatives by the people, of the people. And as long as we, the American people, remember that, then our government will function as it's supposed to. When we become a political party-orientated government, we will have a political party-orientated government, which we have now. It's up to us now to realize what's wrong with our government is not our government, but us. And to correct it, we need to ensure that whoever we send to Washington to represent us will represent us, not a political party. Whoever is in Washington will do the job that we require our government to do. In bad times, we kind of hold them more to the stone, more to the toll, more to the law. In good times, we kind of, well, as long as our government leaves us alone, it can do whatever it wants. And that's why we have the problems. Our government cannot do or be allowed to do whatever it wants. The Bill of Rights sets the guiding light for our Congress and sets the precedence for our Supreme Court to decide what is constitutional and what is not. And we, the people, need to ensure that that is held to the utmost of our responsibility. Yes, our responsibility. Our representatives will either represent special interest groups and money people, or bureaucrats and bureaucracy if we let it, or it will represent us if we hold it to the law. So, when you say our government is messed up, what you're saying is what you did was messed up. And we need for you all to realize that our government is an extension of you. We, the American people, who are the ruling class in this country, each and every one of us in this country is a member of the ruling class. Never forget that, because with that comes the responsibility of ensuring our government does the right thing. Thank you. This is JD.